Everybody's so quiet tonight.
Just trying to get prepared.
Yeah, I was a little late in preparation today. Hey, Sam, I've been teaching defense today, man. Are you proud of me?
Dude, you're turning the corner, man. Like, the thing is this, you're going to be an unbelievable better coach this year now. Just talking about running the football, defense.
Oh, my God, man. I spent a whole day talking about two-read, talking about trips checks, bunch checks. Oh, my. I told Bird, I see why you guys like defense. This is kind of fun, and the hitting part's cool, too.
Yeah, take it away what they do well. Yeah.
Hey, Grice. Do you know how to draw up a defensive board? You know,
that's what I did all day today. Like, I drew everything up.
All right, guys. I try to let you guys in a little bit of the fun before the show. Before we get started, before I drop the theme music, we're going to ask Gary just to sit up just a little bit.
Hey,
y'all know as the show goes on. What happens to Gary as the show goes on? All right, we're ready. Here we go. Well, I guess this is our first regular season show of the season.
Hey, everybody's playing football.
So we're going to try to kind of hit our stride. We got some new segments. We got a segment with Coach Grice. We're going to talk about a game of the week. We're actually going to talk about somebody playing football in Mecklenburg County. Chris, you guys went out to Rock Hill this past weekend. Tell me what you saw.
We went to York High School. They hosted Indian Land. Great game, and it's just a great atmosphere just to be there. I don't know the number of fans they had in the stadium. I might maybe about 800, 500. I don't know. Maybe not that many of it. It was a good environment. I mean, I thought it was great. Just great to be around. Here's some music. There was a band there pregame, but they didn't stick around for the game. They didn't sit in the stands. Just everything about high school football is pretty cool.
Yeah, Grice, what was it like for you to be out there, Grice?
Man, I'm like Grinder, man. He was ready to butt in before me. I was jacked up, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, getting on the sideline, being on the side of Indian Land, I think that's special for me because as everyone knows, my head coach is Jamel Bird at Hopewell High School. So he worked a lot with those Indian Land guys. His old high school head coach was in the box. Talk about his old fellow coordinator. Worked a lot with the O-line coaches. So for me, it was, it's kind of like a family reunion. They're like my second cousins over there. So I had a great time, man. Got some hugs, man. I was just really happy to see those guys across the border. And hey, man, 704 coaches can coach too, whether it's in North Carolina or South Carolina.
Grant, I saw you in the coaches' crouch, like you were like, those are your guys out on the field. What was up with that, Coach Grant?
You talking about me or Grice?
You.
No, it was you.
Yeah, that's just the natural way of looking at it. You got to be able to see the game in the right view. I'm glad we don't have to watch it from the stands. That's the beautiful thing when we get to go to the game. We're on the sideline like we're coaching. So it was a good feel. We needed that in our lives, and Grice and I were bragging about that. And Chris, tell them the song that was playing at halftime that you'll never hear maybe in Charlotte. What was the name of the song? You remember that?
Oh, man.
I forget.
I was like, wow.
It was some country song that was pretty obscure.
Yeah. It was
but
funny.
Yeah, his football's back. Like that felt great. Like even Chris, Langston, Chris was sitting there telling us he might be back in it, man. He's sitting there putting the defense together. We were sitting there getting great halftime show. We had a little mini talking prep show. It was great.
We had a great show.
Kinsey, Gary, Diel, CMS students still aren't playing. They go to practice in a couple of weeks, but what's going through their mind? Because now the private schools in Charlotte are playing. It's really getting close now. What do you guys think?
They got to be a little upset, don't you think, that others are able to play and they're not? So I think the protests that they did that had no success, I got a feeling that they got to be a little edgy and upset that they're not able to play. Yeah. I would be.
Kenzie, what do you think?
I think it's frustrating for them. You're watching people right across the state. A lot of those guys can drive over there, and they don't get to play, but they do. And it's hard for, I think, us students to wrap our head around it because we haven't really seen it like truly affect us. And I think once you see it affect us, it really hits home more. But for students, I think it has to be really frustrating.
Gary, what would you be telling your kids you were still coaching right now? What do you think they'd be telling you?
They would probably be asking why, and I try to be explaining the metrics, something that they probably wouldn't want to hear. I think it really dawned on me and probably a lot of them when Friday Night Football came on Channel 3 Friday night. It was an abbreviated version, but it was still Nate Wimberly and Friday Night Football. That's when you know it's football season.
Yeah, that had to be kind of tough to stomach, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about a little bit of football because there is a couple of games this week. We got we started an all North Carolina poll. We got number 3 Country Day is going to play number 1 Charlotte Christian, number 4 Charlotte Latin is going to play number 2 Providence Day. In the game of the week, we're going to let you guys talk about on the back side of this theme music if I don't mess it up.
Orangey bouncy. Hopefully my video, guys, I'm in a hotel, so I hope I'm not too choppy, but we got a big game, and it's an interesting game between Charlotte Christian and Country Day, 2 power teams. And Gary, what do you think about it? First game of the season. What are your thoughts here?
You know what I really think about, I don't know if these teams got a chance to scrimmage, but even in a scrimmage, you don't usually have live special teams. So I'm thinking special teams and penalties and turnovers will be the key. How much did either team get to do live practices where there was actual officiating and maybe some live special teams? I think the winner of special teams game and whoever can have the fewest turnovers and penalties will probably win this game.
Yeah, this game, I look back, and this is the last loss for Christian was to Country Day last year. Okay. And so Country Day lost to Christ School in the playoffs, and, of course, Charlotte Christian beat them. So I think I think we should probably see a very competitive game from what we've seen. I think both teams Country Day's been over the past few years is getting a little better, getting back to the Country Day that I think we all know and love, or maybe some hate. But I think it's going to be a very competitive game. It's a very good point about special teams because, like you say, so you got an abbreviated practice, and you've got a situation that even if they had scrimmage, you don't have live kicks typically. No. And where do breakdowns show up the most can be on special teams. I'm maybe a little concerned about injuries. These are 2 hard-hitting, good football teams with good athletes, and I'm a little worried that because of what I've seen happening at the college level with injuries, that what might happen here.
Well, yeah, I was at the Fort Mill Nation Ford game. First drive for Nations Ford, a guy went down with a broken leg, so injuries are definitely going to be a huge factor.
Yeah, the thing about what people who haven't played the game don't understand is you have to build up calluses to hitting. It becomes routine later in the season, but how you fall, how you hit somebody without getting hurt and without hurting yourself is a big part of muscle memory when it comes to football. And they tried to do everything they can to eliminate a lot of body-to-body contact, first because of concussion protocols, but now because of COVID. So, I think that lends itself to more injuries when it's time to actually turn up and go 100%.
What came to my mind on that was Oklahoma and doing the very first one when you're able to put the pads on and doing that first Oklahoma versus maybe even later in that day or the next day. It's a lot different on those kids to get hit and then to start accepting that hit.
I found out last year a lot of coaches think you're just a Neanderthal if you start out the first day of contact with Oklahoma.
Tell him, Griner. That's banned.
Neanderthal. What are you doing, Oklahoma? Body contact?
That's banned.
Sam, do you run Oklahoma with 2 linemen, 2 defensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen, running back, linebacker? How do you do it?
I do it even Steven. Like a lot of people try to do like 2 guys blocking, 2 guys defending, and 1 guy running. I think it's too much of an advantage of for the offense. So I like it. 1 blocker, 1 guy tackling, 1 guy running, because I want to see a tackle. Can they actually make a good tackle? Because if not, it gives too much momentum to the offense because they'll truck them. Even if they shed the block, they have no more momentum, and they're going to get trucked. And the offense is going to be celebrating no matter what, even if you make a great tackle for a 2-yard gain after shedding the block.
You're a defensive guy, Sam. Who's going to have the advantage in these first couple of weeks as these schools start playing in Charlotte? Is it going to be the offense or the defense?
It's a great point. You always say the defense is less rules. Offense has got more to deal with. So a lot of times defense is definitely going to be a step ahead of everyone else based on offense. Offense, it takes time, rhythm. Now, if you have guys coming back that have been in the same system, then definitely they have a chance because they've been doing 7-on-7s. Then that can get them in some type of rhythm where they can be ahead. That would be the difference.
All right. Well, I want to see what you guys are thinking about these upcoming games on Friday. We started our picks last week, and Grice, you were in the back of the bus, my friend. What's up with that?
We saw that, Chris. Freaking Griner, you saw 1 yard. Indian Land ties that ball game up. 1 yard. And
Gary, what had happened was
the rest. I mean, the Saints, Raiders, whatever. Man, you're in an empty stadium. John Gruden, Chucky, he got fined for not wearing a mask. Whatever. I'll be there next. Just don't worry about that. I'm coming back.
I want to know if Kenzie really picked the Raiders. That's what I want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I picked New Orleans, so I don't know how I went 3-0.
Look at her.
I wanted to. Let me go back and check. I might not be 1-3. I might get 3-0.
We have the magic of editing. I mean, I can edit.
I think we can edit that.
One person is perfect right now.
Look at that. Kudos to Kenzie for look at that model of integrity right there.
That's all I can say. I'm perfect.
She's ready.
Here we go. So Griner is at the head of the bus.
There we go.
That's all by himself.
That looks official now.
All right.
Official.
Now I want to ask about games this week. We're going to start out with York and Catawba Ridge, and we'll go in the order you guys appear on the screen. Chris Hughes, who do you have in this game?
Well, you didn't put my record there for last week, but I think I'm going to go with an upset here. I saw York in person last week, and they're not bad. They're really not bad, but I think Catawba Ridge might have just enough in them for the upset. So I'm going to go with the Copperheads.
All right. Grice.
Wow, the Copperheads. That's a unique name. Hey, York actually did a lot of this work without their best player on offense, and that's Deshaun Brown. We actually were on that sideline and saw him hurt and really struggle to get in a rhythm, in that game. The biggest thing when you talk about with South Point and their difference with Catawba Ridge is team speed. I think York has that as some of the big plays against the Indian Land, who was definitely outmatched. We saw that at any given time, York can make a play. I think York will come back and show that they're going to go to 2-0, and it's going to be a pretty good win.
Mr. Perfect, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going with, where I grew up, York again. I think Catawba Ridge is on the bridge of taking over around this area. I think they're going to do really good, but I think they're a year away from being a playoff contention team, and I think York already went through their lumps last year. Hopefully, Brown's back and they got their best player, and so I'll take York in this game.
Miss Kenzie.
York
all day. Gary.
York.
Diel.
I'm taking Catawba Ridge. I
like what I saw. Is Diel the lone wolf? Are you the wolf?
No, I'm joining Chris.
Okay, that's Copperheads. That's what you're on Copperheads.
I'm going to tell you, they're a young team, and they looked great last year when I saw them. And I think these kids, the more that they play, the better they're going to be. That's the new power. That's going to be the new power in York.
All right, you guys just talked about this game up top. We'll get a quick pick.
I got one thing I want to add.
Oh,
sorry. Sam and I saw Catawba Ridge play Rock Hill last Friday night in the Jamboree. Rock Hill looked pretty doggone good Friday night. Catawba Ridge played them neck and neck, and in my opinion, I would say beat Rock Hill. I think Catawba Ridge is better than what people think.
All right. Well, Dale, you, Gary, and Kenzie just talked about this game. So just give me a prediction on your game of the week, Dale. Who's going to win this one?
Boy, this is tough, but I'm right now I'm going to go with Charlotte Christian.
All right, Gary.
Charlotte Christian. To beat a man, you got to beat the man.
That's right, Kenzie.
Charlotte Christian.
Coach, what you see on this one? Coach Griner, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely going with Charlotte Christian. You know, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and they are those dudes still. You know,
3 games in a row. Grice, what you think?
Charlotte Christian won the D1 championship with their starting quarterback getting hurt week 1 against Sun Valley. My young former Steel Creek Seahawk, Matthew Tumala, he's back this year, and from what I've seen, he's better than ever. And I think Christian big.
All right.
Big, yeah. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Well, guys, I think Charlotte Country Day has the best quarterback in private school football in Charlotte. But with that being said, I think Christian wins this one big.
Yeah, Russell Tabor of Charlotte Country Day was our preseason player of the year for the private schools.
Oh, my God.
Now, the other side of the private school games, Charlotte Lattin's playing at Providence Day. Chris, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a really good game. I think Latin is sneaky good, but I think Providence Day is going to take this one going away.
Grice.
Ooh, somebody might have to sneak me in on the side here. I don't know if they're allowing fans in, but we might, Chris Hughes, we might have to do our Ocean's 11 thing and get in there, man. Anthony Boone as OC versus Chad Greer calling plays or whoever he has under his tutelage. I'm excited for this from an offensive perspective. I got to take PD. I think this is going to be extremely tight, but this one might be the game of the week.
Sounds like Grice is taking a 70-point over-under. Sam, what you got?
Yeah, I'm with my man Chad Greer, hands down. He's that guy. He's going to show everybody. I don't know if he's ever been 0-1 in his life. So
well, we might have to have him back on when they play Charlotte Christian. Kenzie, what do you think?
Providence Day, they got a lot of guys. They got a lot of dudes,
like Chris Collinsworth says. Gary, what do you think?
Providence Day, and the main reason is Will Greer's first game, and he's going to show him so many looks. They probably will have problems lining up.
Well, if they have Will Greer, they're
exactly.
I know what he
Coach Greer, my bad. Coach Greer.
Yeah, what do you think, sir?
I'm taking PD. I think PD had a good team last year, and this transition is just going to they're not going to fall backwards with the transition, and I'm going with PD.
All right, in the Monday night game, because Coach Griner wants us to pick every week, we got Kansas City and Baltimore. Chris, what do you think?
Ooh, man, I think these are the two best teams in the NFL. That's going to be a tough one. At Baltimore, I think I might have to go with them.
Rice.
You give a man $500 million, I ain't picking against him, man. The former air raid quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, is going to do what he came to do and win this football game. I don't care if it's rain, sleet, snow. He played in snow and thrown for 300 yards, too. I'd take him on the moon. Patrick Mahomes, KC.
Dale.
KC. I'm right there with you, Grice.
What do you think, Gary?
It's pouring rain in Baltimore. I'm going with Lamar Jackson. Plus, I'm starting him in fantasy tonight.
That's a nice tip from Gary. Kids, what do you think?
KC all the way, baby.
Yeah. I love it.
Coach Griner, we're going to put you on the one shot. Tell us a little bit about this game.
Well, this game is going to be a very high impact because you got the two best quarterbacks probably outside of Russell Wilson. I still think he's the best player in the NFL. But these two guys are special to watch. And it's just a great time to be a football fan because you're getting to watch two of the best go at it. I think Baltimore being at home is a little bit too much for Kansas City. I think Kansas City will figure things out later in the year and they'll make another run in the Super Bowl. But I think right now, defending against that option it's very difficult for them to handle.
At home, they don't have no fans. What do you mean? They're playing in the empty stadium, Griner.
I agree. I think it'd be lopsided if that was the case. I think it'd be lopsided a little. I think they'd win by 2 scores. I think Baltimore's better than what people think. I really do.
I think they're great, but Kansas City ain't lost by 2 scores to anybody in the past 2 years.
I'm just saying, if there was fans, it would be by 2 scores.
I love it.
All right, Grice has been talking to me for several weeks about doing this next segment. We're calling it Grice's Gems. He's going to talk about and let you and Chris also talk about, if you guys care to, about 3 of the players that caught his eye for this past week. And we've got us a little theme music for him.
Oh, the time is here. Like I get Grinder. Hey man, I get some theme music. I get some respect. But hey, I like this segment because I like to pay attention to a lot of guys out here doing some great things. We don't have the full complement of everybody playing, but we're gonna drop 3 guys that I think had a great week. We're gonna start with Tyler Green of the Cabarrus Warriors. Head coach Jamie Bolton's first win in charge of the program. So he threw he was 19 to 33, threw for 239 yards and 1 touchdown. Grinder, he's a freshman. That is a freshman quarterback, his first high school game in their victory over North Raleigh Christian. So I guess I don't know if we have something here for him to show some of the highlights. Tyler Green had a fantastic game. And I know Coach Bolton is a QB guy from York. And I know if there's anything he can do well, it's coach QB. So a little hard to see some of the highlights of him, and I don't think this is the game. But again, there's a quarterback coming in here in his first game. I mean, Grinder, talk about that. I know you've had young quarterbacks. What would be in your mind starting a freshman quarterback in his first game?
Well, I had a deal when Raheem was being investigated for 2 weeks. I had a freshman start, and you're talking about they're not really poised for that moment. And to see this kid right here not throw any interceptions and have over 200, close to 250. And have a touchdown and win, take his team to a victory. That's special. Like you're excited to coach them. Like you're like, yes, this is my team. The next few years you got this guy at the helm. You're definitely in a good spot.
Chris, I know, like I said, we have him, but I what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I like what you're talking about starting a freshman quarterback. It doesn't matter the level, whether it's JV, whether it's varsity, whatever. First-time quarterback playing on the big stage, you got to find out if the game's bigger than him, if he can play up to the moment, and just the fact that he was able to keep it under, just keep the game under wraps and do his thing and not allow the moment to be bigger than him, I think showed a lot.
That's awesome. So, hey, just, everybody always knows me as highlighting quarterbacks and receivers and things like that. Let's get a kicker in here. Rock Hill Northwestern's Kanoa Vinisette. He had a 24-yard field goal, but the one we want to talk about that you just saw here is a 53-yard field goal in a 27-7 victory over Ridgeview out of Columbia. Yeah, this is a kid, man. I'd love to have a kid with a big leg, big foot. Hey, that Grinder, it makes it a lot easier on offense when you just tell me I got to get to the 30. I can just get to the 30 and I'm guaranteed 3, and that is amazing. And for somebody like you that runs the ball well, ball control, those 3 points are huge, Grinder. Hey, have you had a kicker like that?
I had a guy that I really liked, but he never could put it in the end zone. Could you imagine having a kicker and he automatically is putting it in the end zone on kickoff and you got a good defense and they got to go 80 yards? I think people don't get enough credit for that. If you're able to kick it in the end zone in high school, that's big time. And this kid right here, it looks like he has no problem with that because he's banging 50-yarders out there.
Grinder, you're gonna find that the IMEC, like you've had some light experiences, but there are about 2 or 3 teams that I'm also the kickoff return guys. It's the first offensive play. A couple times I look at them after about 2 kickoffs and say, hey guys, we're gonna be in position just in case. But I got my offense down here on the 20-yard line ready to run out here real quick. So yeah, that is pretty demoralizing, as you can say, knowing every single time they score. If they do, you got to step out there on the 20 guaranteed. Chris, your thoughts?
My first 2 years coaching, I was the young man on a 17-man coaching staff, and they put me in charge of kickers and punters. And these are guys that don't get enough credit for the importance and the significance that they play within a football team. And when you get a guy that can hit a 53-yarder, you pretty much know that once you cross the 50, you're almost in position to start thinking about getting points. And, if you're on a juggernaut team, maybe that doesn't matter. But eventually you're going to get into a game to where those 3 points or maybe even the extra points going to be crucial. I know that we've lost some games in my tenure to where we lost because of a kick or because of a punt. And again, I know he's a kicker, but the kickoffs is important, but I still say the punt's the most important play of any game. There's no other play whatsoever that can flip field position 40, 50 yards at a time.
I agree 100%. Let's flip to my third GM. Hey, I saw this kid start for Sun Valley as a freshman. He was ballyhooed as the next Sam Howell. At Sun Valley, it didn't go, exactly his way, with the tough year. But, hey, he's gotten right back on stride with Nation Forward. Again, he played 24-32 for 343 and 3 touchdowns against Fort Mill in game 1 this year as a sophomore. I mean, a lot of the things that we liked about Sam Howell, I think this kid has a lot of those makings of a great talent. First game for his new school, he showed exactly why people are that high on him. And I mean, you're talking 75% completion percentage, over 300 yards passing in game 1 against a team that he wanted to show, hey, they've dominated Fort Mill. He wanted to make sure that trend continued, and he did so in a huge way in that game. 45-20 was that win. Grinder, when you're facing a top quarterback like that, how tough does it make it as a defensive guy?
Well, it's definitely because you got to put too many people. You got to take them out of the box. You got to worry about this guy getting the ball out of his hand very fast. So now you can't put 7 in the box. Now you're only putting 6 in the box. Then they're running it down your throat. It's a very difficult thing when you have a quarterback that's able to get the ball out of his hand. And I saw him in the scrimmage. He actually struggled. It was good that he had a scrimmage because I think he got his feet wet because he wasn't prepared very well in that game. But you could see the arm talent. You could see the ability. But him being able to, when the live game came, he turned it on. So that's big time.
And the one thing that I saw even in that scrimmage last week, a lot of times the quarterbacks, especially young guys, is, they start scrambling around and they get flustered and they just want to take off and run. But I saw even when he was getting kind of pushed out of the pocket, he had the presence to keep his eyes downfield. And when he did scramble, he scrambled to extend the play while looking towards the receiver. And that's something that's hard to coach. And he's going to have a great year. New system, learning the ropes. It's going to take a few weeks of getting on the same page with the receivers, but I think he's going to do a great job.
All right, Sam, I'll hike the ball and hand it off to you. I'm appreciative that, I got me another segment, but, now it's time for the favorite segment of mine not involving me.
That's right. We're going to Chris's Corner, baby. Let's check it out.
All right, guys, I had one thing already lined up for the show tonight, but another thing popped up this week that I want to kind of bring in and kind of morph two top subjects together. Friday night, Coach Grice, Coach Griner, myself, we hopped in the car and went down to York High School and for a great environment for high school football. And we've already talked about the game on the field, the X's and the O's, the grass and the dirt, all those, a turf field and everything you see within those white lines. And that was a beautiful sight. But with all the layers of the restrictions and everything like that, and being on the sidelines, we got to see some of the working layers of the administrative work, the athletic director work, and a lot of things like that go into putting on a Friday night contest that nobody sees. From being fortunate to kind of go in the side gate down there and, having coaches there monitoring it, making sure that we had the proper credentials, getting us in the right place, to the guys, we talk about the great film work we see, each team had their own end zone camera system. The administration, the police, coming down, making sure, we had our mask on. There was so many layers of people there on the sidelines that nobody sees on a Friday night. All they see is the coaches. They see the games on the field. And I just want to tip my cap to those people because there are thousands. You talk about just the 400 high schools in North Carolina, about the 220 or so in South Carolina. There are thousands of people like that never get their name in the paper, never get seen, that do a lot of work on Friday nights. And we couldn't put on a football game without guys like that. And to kind of get into the second part of my topic is a guy that fit that bill for almost 80 years. 103-year-old Dr. Charles Kernodle is about to be 103 next month up in Burlington at Williams High School. Dr. Kernodle has given just about every athlete in Burlington Williams High School, been to every contest they've ever had, was the team doctor for Duke football team. Dr. Kernodle died this week at 102, just a couple weeks shy of his 103rd birthday. And he was one of those guys that was an unsung hero of the football team and of every athletic program, always on the team bus, always going everywhere to support those teams. And you imagine people that he saw throughout the course of time. He's delivered probably grandchildren, maybe even great grandchildren of people, and cared for them that he had mentored and watched over their health and safety as kids, back in the 1940s and 50s. So, guys like Dr. Charles Kernodle, I just wanted to throw a tidbit out to him and kind of give him thanks, because again, it comes down to the people you never see, the ticket takers, the concession stand workers, the security, the parking attendants, so many people like that that make high school football what it is. And, that's kind of a wrap on Chris's Corner, but I just wanted to do a salute to people like that. Because again, and we got Coach Griner right there. He knows what I'm talking about. The coach can't do it all. You got to have those people that make the Friday night go.
Yeah, there's so many people behind the scenes that make it work. Like even we talked to Jeremy Kent. Jeremy is a friend of mine from York, and he was trying to get the sideline huddle type stuff. I know they're not using huddle, using a different piece of equipment, But like that was a big difference in the game. It made a difference, even though you will never hear about that because he got it up and running. The Wi-Fi started working, or he did something to it to make it work, and they made adjustments. I thought, and they needed it.
Yeah, I agree. And you could see he was kind of stressed out in halftime, waiting for about a 20 or 30-minute upload to come to fruition. So that program would work for the second half. And then you could see the coaches coming out of the locker room looking to him. Hey, are we ready to go? Is the iPads ready? So, yeah, I mean, things like that never get seen from the stands, but you couldn't have a competitive team without guys like that.
No doubt. Well, we know what time it is now. It's Kenzie time. The corner was amazing today, Chris. I appreciate it. Let's check out Kenzie. What you got for us today?
Man, we got a Mallard Creek guy. This has to be one of my favorite interviews I've done just because he's absolutely hilarious.
Really?
I enjoyed every minute I spent with this kid. And
check it out. I just to give a heads up to everybody. If Kenzie is calling you, you better answer the phone because you can have your own segment on Talking Preps. So, I'm glad that he answered it. He probably followed a text message, and it was big time. So, all right, let's roll the tape.
Today we're here with DeMonte Freeman. DeMonte, you got the nickname Black Mamba. Where did that nickname come from?
When I was little, When I was little, like youth football type, I looked up to and Anthony Thomas. His nickname was Black Mamba, and he was like a role model to me sometimes. And I wore 6 to represent him, and that was the year after I found out I was actually fast. So I wore the number and pretty much was styled like him. So my uncle was like, he was like, you know what? You actually look like Anthony Thomas. He was like, I'm gonna start calling you Black Mamba. And I was like, I could dig that,
Yeah.
So it was just like ever since then, that's how it went. And everybody just started calling me Black Mamba. And it was like, you fast like him, bro. I'm just like, appreciate it. So that's how that happened.
That's an awesome story, man. I've watched your highlights. We were talking about this earlier. You're a great receiver. But what would you say if you were to name your best attribute as a receiver? What would that be?
Definitely be speed. I definitely have to say speed. Definitely speed. Because my speed, it kills. Like, as everybody say, speed kills. And when I come up the line, it's just like you have to react. Like, it's no just sitting there. You got to react to my speed threatens people, so you're gonna have to react either way.
I love this guy. Like, I could listen to him talk a lot more. That's my type of guy right here.
The whole video airs at 10. You gotta watch the whole video to see my favorite part.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
fantastic.
I'm gonna check that one out. I haven't watched the other ones. I'm gonna definitely watch that one right there.
Yeah, it'll be on at 10 o'clock on the Observer's Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you check it out. 10 o'clock. Kenzie does great work. Unfortunately, the thing that we use to bring this product to you doesn't allow for much longer videos. All right, guys, it's time. I'm batting, I think, 2 for 2 the last couple of weeks.
Man, let's stop jinxing it, man. You got it. Let's just drop that music.
All right, Kenzie, tell us about Carson Black.
Carson Black, he's got moxie. He gets the ball out fast, and he does it so well. He's accurate with the ball. He's going to hit his receivers downfield. He's very comfortable in the pocket. But the thing I thought was most stood out about him was his leadership. They were down. They weren't having the best game in the first half. He rallied his guys, and they came back, and they just crushed it in the second half of that game. And I really do think that was due to his leadership throughout.
Yeah, he had a really good game for them, and they got off to a really hot start. They got like they may have a big season. I know you guys like some other teams in Rock Hill, but I think they're going to be sneaky good down there and have a big year.
Kansas said he got moxie. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. He got a little moxie.
I'm not the only one that's been watching these sportscasters. Wow.
No, I saw Kizzy on the sideline on one knee with a camera. I was like, she's serious about
this game, man. This game.
Yeah.
The Bengals.
Look at that final score right there. All right, we got Will Taylor of Dutch Fork.
Man, anytime you give me a Tommy Knox quarterback, I already know I'm going to be wild in some way. This kid, again, 4.5 40, you see right here. He shows you he's not just a pocket guy. He can get up and get out of there if necessary. But here, watch this throw. 7-on-7 is cool and everything, but sometimes you got to stand in the gun barrel and take a hit, and he does so and executes a great throw to his receivers. He's got some great receivers. Watch him roll to his weaker side. That ain't the weaker side. That's his other strong side. That's a great pass to knock the back of the end zone. Look at this big throw here. He's on the 42. That ball ends up in the back of the end zone. Great throw.
That looks like Independence to me. Gregory Johnson of Rock Hill Northwestern. Mr. Gary, what do you think?
What I see is an open field player, an in the box player. He's 5'11", 205. So I think at the next level, I think his skills are more suited to be a strong safety. He reminds me of Jamal Adams. He rushes the passer. He can cover in space. And he's like a heat-seeking missile trying to find the football. He's all over the field, as you can see from these highlights. I think his listed as a linebacker, but I think at the next level, he could be a D1 safety.
Wow.
So I think you're wrong on that. I think weak side linebackers are being faster. They're more athletic today. I think I like keeping him right where he's at because you got to play fast at that position these days because of the spread.
Yeah, I'm looking at his size, and I'm thinking, he doesn't fit the stereotype of a linebacker because he's less than 6 feet.
All right, Eddie Cassels, Diel, what do you think?
So this kid plays both sides of the ball. As a lineman, he has two of the best attributes, and that's feet and technique.
Where's the serve?
I'm not sure of all the videos you've got. He's got some nice pancake blocks, but you see how he can get out on blocks.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of videos, so I had to chop them up together.
Yeah, so great. I for the videos that I saw, he's got great feet, and I love his technique. He is strong. He's got some decent size, as you can see, but look at him get on that block and stay on that block.
All right, Sam, we're going to go to Mason Diel, Charlotte Christian, another lineman.
Yeah, Mason, let's keep it in the trenches here. This dude's 6'1", 250. But the one thing that I've noticed that he's an athlete. I think he plays baseball, but this guy can climb the second level. One of the most underrated positions there are in football is center because you have to snap the football. If you snap the football and it's rolling back, you're the only person everybody's going to remember the rest of the night. But you got to be perfect. You never get enough credit for it. I mean, it's so important. So this kid right here is not just getting the ball back perfectly. This guy's climbing to the next level. Look at that right there. You see that combo block to the second level? He just touched the guy just a little bit, and the guy had leverage on him the other way. So this kid's very athletic. I like him a lot.
Christian always has good linemen. That's one of the reasons why they always win. They're looking at a fourth straight potential state championship game, and if they play at home, as you see here, they're really tough to beat on that turf.
If he grew a little bit, he might be a prospect.
Chris, we got Daniel Haughton with Charlotte Latin.
Woo. Man, what's not to like about Daniel Haughton? I had a chance to see him live and then live in color last year. I called the game for TV between Latin and High Point Christian, and he is an unbelievable athlete. He plays both sides of the ball. A big receiver. You can see him right here. Playmaker, great downfield speed. I love the body control. The ball up in the so got.
We got to get on his coach about giving him a little bit more space out there on the perimeter, though. That's like on the sideline.
Yeah.
No, it's you got like Anthony Boone working. He's going to get the ball to his playmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a dual threat guy, though. He can catch it, he can pass it. He's a little bit of everything. And I think, with their quarterback transferring to Providence Day, he's going to have a lot more responsibility this year.
Well, they got Justin Wheeler in there, I think, especially.
Damn, my bad.
You back, Chris? I thought you froze up on us. Yeah, Chris is in that freeze mode right now.
Yeah.
Live TV, man, it happens. But Charlotte, I think they can be sneaky good in that conference. Everybody's talking about the arrival of Providence Day and Country Day, but I think they definitely have a chance to jump in there.
Everybody can't be sneaky good, Langston.
For you. You mentioned about the center and maybe rolling the ball back. My son played center, and early in the season, his first varsity year, he had a great Shrine Bowl quarterback, Antonio Miller. I'm sure you probably remember Antonio.
Absolutely.
So David has a snap that goes over Antonio's head every Friday night on Football Friday night. They show a few plays from the game, and then they roll in. Every Friday night, they showed that snap the entire season. So that is highlight on Football
kind of like the Wild World of Sports highlight when that guy's tumbling. He has no idea what I'm talking about. She's like, Wild World of Sports? What is that?
Yeah.
Tough time.
Before her time.
Speaking about Providence Day, Country Day, all four of those teams that are right there competing against each other, they're so close in competition. Like, they're very, very good. Like, anybody could beat anybody. That's what makes it kind of fun to watch those four. I
just got a text from somebody who says I need to make fresh faces longer and give you guys more chance to talk over the highlights. So we'll look at doing that next week. So you guys,
that's my baby segment. You gotta make sure you can talk about that baby now.
I tell you what. I mean, you guys really provide a service to these kids. I know they're taking these highlights, send them off to college coach, and say, "Look, the experts are talking about me." So they are. So kudos to you guys for because listen, fellas, these people are taking time out of their day studying about you to talk about you to the world. And I think it's a phenomenal thing, and I'm glad to provide the service. I just sit back and I enjoy it just as you guys do.
Well, speaking of,
they took up I sent someone 170, and I got a text not too long after, and I know you know who it is. They're like, "Oh no, my baby's 180."
That's right. I mean, everybody else was an expert.
Right. Hey, I just know about your huddle, so update the huddle.
Not Grinder. Okay, it's time for the 2-minute warning, and I was told that Gary and Diel cannot be like a downer. It can't be. So none of that. So we're gonna hold on. I hit the wrong button.
We got Kinsey with us though, right?
Yeah, you got Kinsey with you. Absolutely. So I'm gonna wheel it down so I get close enough, and then I'm going to drop you guys music. And Kinsey is on the 2-minute warning starting now.
I love it. And Kinsey, I'm glad you're with us. You're definitely, we will not be downers. So guys, Deion Sanders is stepping in as a head football coach down at Jackson State. So what are your thoughts about this? Is this a transition he's going to be able to make?
Well, a quick story about Deion. They were doing a segment on NFL Network once about who are the greatest defensive players in the NFL. And they were debating Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Ronnie Lott, and Deion said, no, I'm the best. And they said, well, how do you figure that? He said, because when you show my highlights, I always got the ball. And I thought about it. That makes a lot of sense. When you have a defensive player that always has the ball. But getting back to your question, Dale, I think Deion is going to surprise a lot of people. What most people don't realize about Deion is he's been coaching high school football for the last 10 years. He had his own school, and he's worked at other schools. He's worked on both sides of the ball. NFL coaches don't hesitate to bring him in the summer and run clinics for their DBs. Deion is a very bright football guy. I mean, you see the flash and dash, and his persona of prime time makes you think, oh, he's just doing it for the attention. The only thing I worry about with Deion being a college coach is having to live in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. That just doesn't fit Deion's temperament. to have to live in Jackson, Mississippi year round. But as far as the coaching is concerned, I think he'll get guys that he knows from the high school ranks, as well as he'll get some old NFL guys who are not so caught up in the legend of being in the NFL and really want to help these guys.
Right. So Jackson, Mississippi, I've been there a few times on business. I get what you're saying. When I thought about this, when I saw this was our question, I got to thinking, well, Dion is an incredible athlete. He was just extremely gifted, and he combined that with excellent technique. You could tell the guy worked. But he also, from what I recall of his play, he has good football IQ.
Yes.
That's why he always, as he says, you show me with the ball in my hands. I'm a defensive guy, and I got the ball in my hands. So he understands the game. My only question would be, as a head coach, there's a lot of organization, and you're hopefully delegating offensive and defensive responsibilities potentially. And can you manage the whole thing of a practice to a game, to a week? He's an extremely bright individual. So I kind of agree with you. I think he's going to be successful. I think this is the question is that the right place for him? But yeah, Kenzie?
I mean, it's Neon Dion. I mean, the guy's got so much football IQ, and let's not forget about his 4-star quarterback son, who he just offered. He's going to come. Why wouldn't he want to play with his dad? He's coached in Texas high school football, which, let's be honest, is his own college football league in itself. It's where the top players come out of. He was running it like a head coach. I've seen him coach. He's got what it is he's got. I don't think he's really going to struggle in Jacksonville because the guy wants to win. That's what he cares about, not where he lives.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, college football is back, and high school is picking up right behind. But in colleges, they have the wherewithal financially and the resources to test their players weekly, sometimes up to 3 times a week. How do you feel about high schools coming back to play and there not be any type of COVID testing?
One of the things that I found interesting was a college game, NC State and Virginia Tech this past week. And it made me question what are the protocols, because Virginia Tech was not able to bring their starting quarterback. But the rest of the team came because he had been in contact. So when you look at, I don't know what the protocols are in high school. I think it's difficult for us at high school level because we're not doing testing. So kids aren't being tested. So, really it's this. I don't know. There's an answer for that. It's no testing. Just the kids have just got to go try to be safe and practice their own distancing and own protocols.
Kenzie, what do you think?
I know you guys are old school, but there's this thing on your phone where you can contact trace, but there's also an Apple thing where they put out questions. Instead of just normal screening, they ask you and they give a long list of symptoms and they put the probability. But I think what we forget about with testing is that once you test, you could have already been in contact with someone on the football field. Testing doesn't cure the virus. So if I go and I get tested on Sunday, but I can let people know who I have symptoms with. If I get tested on Sunday and say, hey, I got tested. So I don't think the issue is necessarily testing, but communication with you got tested and how that worked out.
I have that app, by the way, on my phone.
That is fantastic.
It's slow COVID. I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
I just think by the time you get to game day and it's time to play, we haven't seen any reports, at least none that I'm aware of, where it has been transmitted through athletic activity, body to body in an actual game. I know football players get closer to each other than probably any other sport other than wrestling. But, it's brief, 4 or 5 seconds, back in the huddle, 4 or 5 seconds, back in the huddle. So I think, if you reach Friday and everybody's good, you go play.
Exactly. You can't worry about it, right? It's just do it. Everybody's accepted whatever risk there is. Just go until you can't go.
If you're worried about it, then you shouldn't be out there playing. Exactly.
I'm sure your parents will not let you be out there. So our last one is concerning CMS. They lost 500. They've lost 500 students since the pandemic has begun, and just wondering, what about the remote options? What do you guys think about this? What should we do as far as how to handle?
Wow, sounds like the gloom and doom question they snuck.
Yeah, I know. I don't like this question. Why do we get 2 COVID questions? Why?
So how does CMS handle remote learning?
All right, wait a minute. This is not a COVID question. I'm sorry. This is my fault. The question is, should CMS continue with the remote learning program after this is over? So should they invest in having a top flight remote learning program once we're done with COVID? Should they continue?
So there's no COVID.
Yeah, there's no COVID. Should we still have remote learning?
Okay. That's a good question. That's a better question. So Gary?
Okay, now that's a lot better. Okay, I thought I was back to being Mr. Bloom again. Sure. If kids want to get ahead, graduate early, we keep talking about these kids that are graduating early are going to opt out from playing in the spring. I think they should invest in remote learning. I think there's a lot we've learned from it. One thing we've learned is with all this remote learning, there won't be any more snow days.
That's right.
Because you got your assignment right there on your laptop. So keep it moving. But I think it should be accessible to parents who want their kids to be able to do more than what is required from a normal school routine.
So what I would like to see, because I remember my oldest daughter had some health issues, and she missed a lot of school. And for her to catch up, it was just a tremendous amount of work. And if there was an opportunity then to have been able to take part in the classes through remote learning, she would not have been so far behind and had to cram so much in so she could stay on schedule. So I see great potential for when a child is sick, too sick to go to school, be it whatever the case may be, but capable of still taking part in class. So I'd like to see that investment. I would personally, I don't think that a parent should consider that to be the only method of learning for a child, because I think that interaction with other adults and other students is very important.
What do you think, Kenzie?
Well, I'm just going to start off by saying I hate remote learning. So it's going to be interesting to see if they continue with it, because I don't think it's been incredibly successful. I think a lot of kids have fallen behind because of remote learning, and I don't know if they can do it successfully because CMS is such a large district. And I know for me, I have a lot of like 30, 40 person classes, and to have that and then have a camera rolling, it's just too many aspects. And can the teacher really teach the way they need to? And, it would be a great option, but I don't think CMS can make it work.
So can I ask you, so is the problem more, or let me ask this, do you think it's a hurdle of technology? Because I heard there's been a lot of issues with technology, and I do a little bit of remote teaching. And when the technologies are there, I think I'm wondering, A, is it technology? And B, one of the things when I do teaching is I have multiple level of students, and not being able to interact with them one-on-one. What do you see the hurdles are?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's frustrating when you're on a Zoom and it kicks you out right in the middle, but it's also frustrating when you have to sit there and you're listening to somebody just talk to you about something that you're sitting on a computer screen. I mean, I'm sitting on a computer screen for like 7 hours right now. That's not fun. That's not enjoyable. And it's just, it's busy work to me, to sit down and fill out a worksheet on your computer is incredibly discouraging. And can you really get that interaction that you need? Like, I may need help in math, but I can't necessarily reach out and get the help I need for math right now because of the situation that I'm in. And that's difficult for, I think, a lot of students right now and trying to figure out how to handle certain aspects of school. And it's just, I don't think CMS has figured it out yet. I don't think a lot of the United States who are doing this have figured it out yet because it's just such a complex issue. And I don't think there's any way to really figure it out at this moment.
Yeah.
You know what we do have figured out and what is enjoyable? Coach versus coach. Sam Griner versus Grice. They will find a way to make this enjoyable.
Hey guys, before we get started,
called for the ball and shot a 3 there, Griner. That was excellent.
Hey, I want to say this though before we get started. Wow, is Kenzie on fire or what? That girl's got it going on. She's got the opinion. She's opinionated and she's exceptionally bright. And that's an incredible combination. She's going to do a lot of winning in life.
I like how she responds in our chat over here very well. We can get her to laugh.
We need a Patreon for the limited access, man. She's on fire for real, man. So yeah, no, that was great. And again, like sometimes you just have to sit back and as adults, sometimes we listen or talk too much. But hearing someone that's going through it, I think gives a great perspective. And she did just that. And like you said, that was amazing.
To speak about the online learning going forward, though, I think teachers are making a big mistake. There's one thing that I've seen a lot of, and I've seen high school kids, elementary school kids, they're spending 3 or 4 hours on their computer after the online learning's there because of the busy work that the teachers are providing. I can understand you got to provide work, but when you start asking someone to provide, 10-page paper every week and all these different things on top of being in front of the screen, it's overwhelming. And these kids they have to get out of their house. They got to be able to move around, or life is not going to be very fun at all. So frustrating about that. That was my 2 cents.
I agree. And I've got 2 kids in school right now as well who I see this on a daily basis, and they're young. And it's frustrating and mentally challenging and taxing to them. And one in middle school, I can see it affecting her in just how she interacts in life because she's overwhelmed and frustrated. So I can understand with what Kenzie said and the whole situation. And it's rather unfortunate, but it just kind of is what it is with what we're dealing with. But guys, I'm anxious to get this coach versus coach going on. We had some great coach versus coach questions just going on Friday night at the football game. Too bad everybody couldn't tune in to see that. But yeah, I think tonight's going to be incredible. Let's kick it off. Can the Carolina Panthers, they won yesterday against the Chargers, snapping a 10-game losing streak, and they looked pretty good in that win. Yeah. Can they win again against Arizona? Can they start a new streak? Grice, we'll start with you.
I don't think they can. 2 words. It makes it very simple. Kyler Murray. He's one of the best, hottest young quarterbacks in the game, and the inventiveness of Cliff Kingsbury, of course, former Air Raid guy. But the one thing I like is just the ability to be how creative he is. Against Washington, he lines up. Hey, you'll love this, Griner. He lines up in a flex bone set on 4th and 1 on his own. I think it was on his own 20 and gets a first down. His creativeness and inventiveness, I think, is where Joe Brady is eventually going to get to. But in year 1, I don't think he's there yet. But him having a dynamic player such as Kyler Murray, and people kind of doubted choosing him and immediately shipping Josh Rosen out. I'll say this so far, looks like he's been right. And having, being ultimately a 49er fan and having watched Kyler Murray up close for these first 2 years, he's a dynamic guy. And I think we've already talked about the defense struggling with just normal quarterbacks and quarterbacks in the pocket. Watch when this guy gets out and out of the pocket and do some great things. So I think they're going to struggle. I think it may be close early on, but Kyler's going to be too much.
Yeah, and I don't know where – I'm not picking the Panthers in this either. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Arizona's just too much. They're one of the best teams in the NFL right now, the way that they're playing. because their defense plays pretty well at the same time. The thing was a little bit skewed, though, with the Panther game last week. I mean, you had San Diego had like 436 yards total, and then you had the Panthers only had 300 yards total. They were really good at kicking field goals. I thought Slide did a really good job of banging it through and providing some points for them. But the penalties were 3-8. San Diego hurt themselves. They had 4 turnovers. I don't know if Panthers can be turnover free and then produce 4 turnovers and only still win by less than a touchdown. It's a very difficult thing. I wish that they would tank, like I said, so we can go get Trevor Lawrence, but there's zero chance of that right now because the Jets have zero chance of winning. Have no chance of winning. In the NFL, anybody can beat anybody except the Jets right now.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to buy, sell, or hold on the Panthers right now, I don't think I'm buying their stock, and I don't think I'm selling it. I'm kind of right there in the middle. Anybody can win any given week, but I'm kind of have some doubts with the Panthers right now this week against Arizona. But let's go over to question number 2. And Coach Griner, I'm going to start with you on this one just because I already know what Coach Grice is going to say. But the air raid, will it work in the SEC? I saw the game Saturday. Mississippi State comes in, puts about 620-some yards on the defending national champions and looked really good in doing it. We've got some air raid starting to kind of creep in. And I know you're a purist and you like defense and you like smash mouth football, Sam, but what do you think?
Well, the thing is this, it's a little skewed, all right, because let's just be honest. You know, LSU, they won a national championship, but they lost, 20 out of the 22 starters? I mean, it's a gigantic difference when you lose 20 starters. I know that they got guys coming in. Can the air raid work in the SEC? It can, but it's all based upon athletes. And I think that anything can work in that regard, but I don't think it's the air raid. Air raid, I think, is not going to work in a big power of football. Now, if you were in the ACC, it can work a little more. If you're in the Pac-12, it's definitely going to work a little bit more. But the SEC, you're talking about the defensive line. They can get pressure with those 4-man fronts, and they're really good at it. They got some of the best ones in the college football, and I think that's makes it harder for air raid just to be sustainable throughout a whole game.
Is it my turn yet?
Yes, go ahead, Coach.
So the question should be termed, can the air raid work again in the SEC? Because if we go back to 1997, go back to 1998 with Kentucky, with Hal Mummy, it worked back then. They took a Kentucky program that ain't been good, that ain't never had anything going for them. And you took a little known guy named Tim Couch, threw for 3,800 yards back then where they're going 2 back. You can't just 5 wide across the field. Hey, we had backs in the backfield, Griner. 3,800 yards the first year, came back 4,200 yards in the next year in 98. Went 7-5 for a program that didn't even do anything.
Did they win the conference?
He's winning 8-9 games. They're ready to build a statue. Hal Mummy did it. 7 wins back in the day when Kentucky was only a basketball school, and they did football, just give them some money for the basketball team. And all of a sudden, hey, they get a number 1 pick, a guy threatening to win the dang Heisman. And everybody's like, oh, well, this can't work. Can it work again? Game 1, limited practice time. He doesn't even have his guys in there against DB, who, hey, 623 yards. The biggest problem here is when you got these outdated defensive coordinators like a Bo Pelini running the same thing. It was 623, and it was an easy 623. They actually had 2 turnovers. Was it a fumble? I think they threw a pick late in the game, and it really should have been about 750. I may or may not have allegedly screamed 92 post wheel on one of those touchdowns in a crowd, well, in a decently crowded crowd. But again, hey, it is a situation where Mike Leach also has athletes. Now, that's always been a problem and always been a knock for him. Wherever he's been, he hasn't had the athletes. Washington State never had a recruiting class anywhere near the top 50. He's got guys too. But not only do the defensive have guys, the Shavers kid, the 6'5" receiver that just absolutely destroyed LSU's defense. Hey, nobody said anything about Bama when Trevor Lawrence and all of them ran up the score and threw for about 400 yards on Bama's young defense. Hey, it's weird that Saban doesn't get that same level of hey, it's okay. You got young guys. I guess that's a testament to how good he is.
Tell the viewers what's the difference between spread and air raid?
Yeah, so the air raid is a packaged group of plays created by Hal Mummy and Mike Leach from the West Coast offense with Lavelle Edwards and BYU. So these specific plays and the philosophy that comes along with them is to say, hey, we're going to minimize shifting and adjusting and moving guys and have them do the same thing. Was the Bruce Lee quote, a man that practices, I don't fear the man that practices 1,000 kicks, but the man that practices 1 kick 1,000 times. That's the philosophy with the air raid. I want to keep my guys doing the same thing as many times as possible until they get better at what they're doing, again, rather than against anybody who can stop it. vocally didn't have a big answer for what Mike Leach was doing. And he was doing the same stuff he did at Washington State. Watch the game. I've got most all the Washington State films in my drive. The same exact stuff. And look what happened game one. Not sitting here saying national championship, but I think the thing that, that's become the new thing that for people to beat up on. And, I think, and I'm proud of the fact that these kids came in on the shortened time, they bought in and did something that they've never done. Never heard of KJ Costello in my life until this year, and he sets the SEC record. Got to be happy for that.
Well, Coach Grice, I can't believe you're talking about Kentucky football here on this show. You ought to be banned for just talking about them. To show you how bad Kentucky is, and this is a little bit off topic, but Bear Bryant once won 10 games at Kentucky, and they bought him a wristwatch. That same year, Adolph Rupp won the national championship, and they bought him a Cadillac. And that's why he left and ended up at Alabama eventually. So, bringing up Kentucky football means –
Great point.
That's a party foul.
I said Mark Brooks, or it was Mark Stoops. I'm sorry.
Bryce would have a better point if he was talking about basketball, Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, Kentucky football. You're right.
Better. Nobody cares about Kentucky football, and he brought a quarterback from Kentucky to dang near almost winning the Heisman. That takes talent. And he's showing you can do it in every conference.
Well, this is basically how I viewed the question. You made great points, Grice. I ain't gonna lie, and that whole little segment there, that was really good. It made me think about the air raid for like 30 seconds, and then I went back to it.
I'm honored. That's honored. That's a long time.
But is one of these air raid teams, not spread teams, air raid teams going to win the SEC? I don't think so. Not right now. That's why I don't know.
And see, that's the thing. I think that people, and I had this discussion, of course, on Twitter, I got all the good and all the bad. But one of the big things with that is everyone thinks that you run or you're more air raid specific when you got the guys. No, you turn into Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley came under that tree, but when you start recruiting 350-pound linemen and all these running backs, heck, you turn into running GT counter, some RPOs, and throwing some play action in there. So it's not as pure as what Mike Leach is doing. He's in a situation where he's outgunned, he's outmanned, and he's saying instead of trying to be like these guys, and it's the same thing what you do, Griner. When you're in a situation, you had guys at Harding where you had a deficit. Yours was in numbers. You had heart, you had talent, but you had a deficit. So you chose an offense that would allow for you to get the best possible chance to win. And you either got to go, and the same like in basketball, you either go fast or you slow it down. This is just the fast option. And I think, sometimes it doesn't get its just due. And I think that it's sad, but I'm going to celebrate when the good guys get a chance to have, a good time. So my Saturday was fun.
All right, guys, we're starting to encroach on football time, kickoff. So let's talk a little bit of NFL right now. Does Dak Prescott deserve top 3 money as a quarterback? And Coach Griner, let's start with you.
Yeah, I don't think he's top 3 money. Now, that dude's going to get paid, all right, because he's playing, out of his mind right now, but they're still not winning games the way they need to. I think that the one position in all sports, the quarterback affects wins more than just stats. And I think that that's a thing that he's got to do better. 1 and 2 is not going to get top 3 money, and I don't think he deserves top 3 money. Now, if you start talking about top 7, top 5 money, I think he'll get top 5 money. I think he'll be around the 5, but I think he's wanting top money. I think he's wanting not 1, 2, or 3. I think he wants 1. I think that's what he wants, and I don't think he deserves that. And now he has been one of the most underpaid guys there is. Russell Wilson was in the same boat. Imagine Russell Wilson going to Super Bowls and still getting paid like 4th round money or whatever it was. Was it 3rd round or 4th round Russell Wilson? I forget.
I think it might have been 5th. He was 4th or 5th. Yeah,
it was something like that. But like Dak in the same boat, he was a later, different, not a 1st or a 2nd round pick, and he's not getting paid very much at all. So he should get paid, but just not top 3 money.
Hey, Gary, you popped on the screen. What's your thoughts?
No. Heck no. He does not deserve it, and I'm a Dallas diehard fan. Yesterday goes to prove why he doesn't deserve top 3 money. Top 3 quarterbacks win that game yesterday, or at least tied up and sent it into overtime. Dak gets a lot of empty yards because Dallas is behind a lot. And so teams are going to play to keep everything in front, and he gets a lot of empty yards that puts him high statistically. But it all comes down to wins and losses. On that last drive against a good team, do you pull it out? And, over the last 2 years, he's been 1-8 in those type of games. So, no, he doesn't deserve the money. However, when you're next, you get the most. So he's the next quarterback that's up for a contract. So he'll get paid top 3, but he doesn't deserve it.
Grice. chime in. What's your thoughts?
Man, and so I'm a 49er. Look at Gary. He's still fired up. That's why I look at Gary right now. He's still fired up. I'm glad he got the one shot. You see the fire in his eyes. But that's one reason I hate Cowboy fans. I'm not only just because I'm a 49ers fan, but I hate them because they're irrational in so many ways. They're irrational because they think their guys are the greatest. They're irrational because, they think the team's good, quarterback sucks. I don't know, whatever. But the one thing, and he's talking about that last play, and it's ironic because Dak's in the pocket. His offensive line fails him again. This is the only part of this game I watched. He spins out of a tackle. Justin avoids another tackle, picks up his stumble, going to his weaker side, throws the ball, of course, because he has to get the ball out of his hand. And because he throws a pick, everybody, Dak doesn't deserve the money. He doesn't get it done. And that's the part that sucks for me. If I told you that there was this no-name quarterback that has thrown for more yards than Russell Wilson, that has better stats than Aaron Rodgers right now, what would you tell me? And everybody's calling him empty yards. Heck, he helped them come back and beat Atlanta. I'm not saying that that's like a great beat, but somebody had to do it because the defense sure ain't doing it. I think it's a situation in which he deserves that top money. But again, a couple things, like I do think at times, he does exemplify a quarterback who isn't at that level. And also, too, when you talk about needs for that team, they do need to shore up that defense, as it's been a perennial problem for them. And I think ultimately the thing that'll prevent them once again from reaching kind of the top tier of the NFC. So yes, he does deserve that. He's a guy that's consistently shown he can perform, and you can't point out 2 or 3 guys in his same situation that will perform better. So I think that's one of those things that if we take out the name, if we take out the Cowboy piece of what this is, a quarterback with that level of production would be someone you would consider as a top 3 guy that we would want to take care of. And it's maddening to me that the Cowboys, once again, don't take care of a guy that they can't go find better, much better at all.
How many times did Russell Wilson have?
He has 1 pick, but Dak only has 2 picks. Like that's what I'm saying. That's irrational.
The fumble, taking care of the football, is a bigger thing that's not on the stat book necessarily we're talking about. He fumbled the football, did he not, in the pocket?
I mean, okay, so even if it's 3 or 4 turnovers, people are acting like he's sitting here. He's one of the leaders in passing yards. He has, like I said, good touchdowns. And mind you, he's got a back who's sitting here getting paid big-time money as well that you got to get the ball to.
3 receivers that are, like, legit. He might have the best 3 tandem there is in the NFL. So I'm not saying he's bad. Don't get me wrong. I think he's perfect for them. I think he's going to get top money. I don't think he deserves top 3 money. That's the only difference. I don't want to seem like I'm bashing him, but I don't. Top 3 is different. Go ahead.
Top 3 money in the NFL right now for Dak Prescott, not a chance. So let's just look at 3: Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. And that's 4 right there. That's a whole lot
better than Aaron Rodgers this year. So far. It's better than Aaron Rodgers this year.
But I'll even say this, though. I don't think Prescott's nearly as good as Tony Romo was. And that might be an unpopular stance. Tony Romo was pretty good. And Gary had the quote tonight saying that half of his yards are empty yards. So that is it. And there he is again.
Chris, you just spoiled my night with that Tony Romo.
See, I told you.
I'm sorry.
Gary's firing his eyes. Oh, my goodness.
All right. Hey, let's go ahead and wrap this up because we've got one more question here. Grice, we're going to kick it off with you. Can South Point with an E and Rock Hill win a state championship?
Yes, they can. You got Coach Holloman down there. We talk, Griner, our boy, Coach Littlejohn's down there. I think they're primed once again to reach those heights. You saw, especially with COVID and seeing, some guys come down there, your favorite guy, Chris, talking about down there in that area, Nabanye Moore coming from the Greyhounds. You've got Phil Mickles coming as a receiver, a deep threat that's going to give them, that ability to stretch the field. You got a great opportunity. I mean, you're talking about a team that's lost, 2 games in 3 years, and the teams that they've lost to have been quality teams. Like I said, I think they lost to Daniel and Herons last year, and they lost to Wren this past year, who I think lost to Myrtle Beach in the final, I think, if I've got that correct. And also what we know is with Wren playing this year, playing Clover, and only beating them by 2, Clover, of course, with the loss of a lot of key talent. I think that South Point is primed against some of their contenders who maybe have lost a step to go ahead and fight for that state title. And they can beat Wren, they can beat, take care of it and have the right to face a Myrtle Beach. I'm putting my money on the Stallions 100%.
So you're saying they're winning. Like if you're picking one team to win the state championship, you're picking South Point is what you're saying.
I'm picking South Point is what I'm saying. Those additions, they're going to be tough to beat. When Nabanye gets going, I like him.
I think that they're definitely can go undefeated in the regular season like they did, but they did get beat the first game that they played in the playoffs. That's
Wren, the team that made it. Oh, no, they got beat. Sorry, to Greer, who lost barely to Wren. Again, Greer and Wren are top programs, and it was a touchdown.
Greer won even in the state championship. You still had
lost to Wren, who went to the state title.
But I'm just saying, I think Myrtle Beach is the top-notch program in the 4A conference for, South Carolina. I just don't think that South Point, like, you got to remember, they lost an all-time great coach. Like, is it Heron Straight or Straight Heron? I confused because they're both last names. But you talking about a phenomenal guy. I was actually with him in the All-American game, coaching with him, and he's a phenomenal guy. I mean, really good defensive-minded guy. They won how many championships in a row? 4? Was it 4 in a row? I think it was
3 if not 4. Yeah.
I think that they lost McManus. McManus was the offense coordinator. He was really good. I think that they're turning things around. They're going to be a good team, but I don't think they're quite there winning a state championship this year. I think next year they can win a state championship. I just don't think it's this year.
I think COVID helped them. Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with both of you to some aspects. I do think South Point is a team that can go to that third round. I don't know the shape of the South Carolina playoffs right now, but South Point's really good. But, man, I've got to agree with Coach Griner. Mickey Wilson and what he's doing right now at Myrtle Beach High School is unreal. Off the chain. They continue to put quarterbacks and big-time players in the SEC and other big colleges around the country. Everett Goldston, look at what he did back in the day. Myrtle Beach is a program. They're a machine, and they showed it last night. I think they won 69-0, and they'll continue over Darlington. So, I like what I see out of Myrtle Beach, the Seahawks.
All right, you guys were talking about Dak Prescott. I just think Dak Prescott just wants to be the next guy up. Everybody wants to be, Mahomes got the almost $500 million deal. So Dak says, hey, I'm going to be next, and I should get the most money because I'm next. It's not necessarily that he's a top 3 or 4 quarterback. He's just next. Do I think that Dak's going to lead the Cowboys to a world champ? A Super Bowl championship? No, I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's that guy. I think he runs up a lot of numbers, but in the crunch, he just doesn't come through. And who is it that says you are what your record says you are? The Cowboys really are 3.
Here's the thing about him too. I love that he admitted that he was dealing with depression and things of that nature. I just think that his best days ahead of him are down the road. They're still not quite there. His talent is there. I just think that he's a
top 10 quarterback, no doubt about it.
Top 10 guy. Like I like him.
I wouldn't want to pay him $40 million a year though.
Here's the thing though. He's really smart. He's playing his cards right. Everybody's like, well, you need to get that contract. How often quarterbacks are so well protected in the NFL, right? Well,
unless you're Cam Newton playing for the Panthers.
Yeah, exactly. You got the only thing. But you're talking about being able to sustain and get, franchise money. Now he's going to get even a bigger contract. They might even refranchise him, and he'll get paid. What is it? Top quarterback money plus something. If you get
20, average of the top 5. It's the average of the top 5. Yeah. But it's also an additional premium for year 2.
You guys are talking about protecting the quarterback. I think Houston is kind of making the same mistake that Carolina did. They're going to get Deshaun Watson hurt or killed or both.
He's one of the best, I think.
And it's the same thing. I just see Cam Newton all over again. I look at Cam now in New England. They're going to be a contender. I think they're going to make a playoff run. I think they're going to beat the Bills and win that division. And, he's got a great coach, great system. And then Cam, because look, the Patriots beat you however they need to beat you. Mm-hmm. Week 1, they ran the ball. Week 2, they threw the ball. Week 3, they ran the ball. They just do what they got to do. And Cam can work with both of those.
Josh Allen.
I think
Josh Allen's having a heck of a year.
Josh Allen's Josh Allen and Dak Prescott right now.
Yeah,
you are out of your mind. Hey, take a season. Take a full season.
We got a comment, Kenzie, from Gabby Bird, who's a friend of the show, has been on quite a bit. She agrees with a lot of what she was saying about virtual high school. She thinks teachers haven't had the tools they need to streamline delivery, and it's causing problems. It's causing the teachers and the students to work double. Has that kind of been your experience, that you have to do double the work?
I 100% agree. Because they're having to figure out the technology too. They're having to deal with the Zoom issues. That's not an administration thing. That's a teacher thing. If their Zoom's not working, that's on them. If our Zoom's not working, I've been counted absent and I've been in the Zoom the whole time. So I think it's kind of on both parties, and it's just they haven't worked out all the kinks, and that's expected. But I totally agree with Gabby.
I don't want to put you on this.
I will give them some credit in that they have set up the remote learning in the form of a school day where you have a first block, a second block, a third block. Which they didn't really have last year because it happened so suddenly.
Right.
But they have guidelines that they have to follow. I've been a short-term sub for 3 different classes so far, and you have to be online with these kids for a certain amount of time, and then you have to give them time to work it out and then come back to you. Mm-hmm. So they have structured it better this year, but I mean, just sitting in front of a computer all day long is a little bit more than.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we talk about not wanting kids to be in front of screens all the time, limiting our screen time, and now we've increased our screen time. And to Sam's point, you sit in front of the screen all day long, then you get homework, and now you have more screen. Kinsey, not to put you on the spot, and Dale, I want you to respond to this too. And I don't mean to make this like a downer. I'm just curious because you were so open earlier, Kinsey. There's a fine balance between go back to school or stay home and be safe. What do you think we should do, Kinsey, right now in seeing this?
I think this point has been made before, but to stay at home and be by yourself and be in front of a screen I know as myself, I'm high school. A lot of people are so focused on little kids, and social interaction. A lot of these high school kids are really struggling with mental health. They're really just on this downhill spiral and people are forgetting about it. And I've seen a lot of people really just struggle over and over again. And you can't see that over a screen. And so I think a lot of teachers are missing it. I know recently I had a suicide at my school. Could that have been prevented if we were at school? You don't know, but you think about those things. And so I think it's a risk thing. You could die because of COVID, but you can really die because of suicide. And those things go hand in hand. You're at home. There's not a lot of resources there. And I think so going back to school may be a risk that we have to take to maybe prevent more deaths than we're realizing.
Mm-hmm.
Dale, what do you think there?
I think that I would prefer to have kids together and have an interaction face-to-face with the teachers. We develop mentally well past our teenage years, and to kind of stifle that is definitely got to create depression when you lock someone in like that. I think parents should have an option, or families should have an option if they're really fear what can happen by being able to have remote learning. But if at all possible, I think that everyone should try to get back into school, because the social interaction of any child from K through 12, there's so much development that happens socially that they're losing that. And
I think that's right. If they have an option, I think that would be helpful. Like, there might be some people that are so scared to death of getting COVID, and there's a place for them, and it'll make the classes a little smaller for social distancing if you do it that way,
Well, Sam, what do you say to the teachers who are afraid to go back? Because I have a lot of teachers that email me. They watch the show and they're like, Langston, you pushing us back in the classroom. I said, no, I'm not. I'm really talking about sports mostly. But what do you say to those teachers that are fearful about going back to school? Because there are a lot of them.
Well, here's the thing. Like, being a teacher, teaching online is not that difficult. So we're getting accustomed to doing something. It's not very difficult. I can provide information, and then now all of a sudden I'm cooking breakfast for my daughters. Do you see what I'm saying? So It's a positive to that for teaching. But the problem is this: some of these teachers are not realizing, well, I'm just going to give them a bunch of work and then I'm doing my job. That's where they're taking it the wrong way. I think that if they need a bit of, like, an example for my class, okay? We do walk runs, kind of like, Grice does and Chris Hughes does. We do that. I make them download a run tracker app. Okay. They owe me at least 1 mile on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they got to provide me. All they have to do is show me a screenshot of the date and the time that they ran. Then I give them a grade for that. You see what I'm saying? So I don't bog them down. I know it's just a PE class, but I don't bog them down with 3 or 4 hours of work because they're not really receiving the information. You're just stressing them out and making them.
But what do you say to the teacher that doesn't want to go back to the classroom, Sam, because they're afraid of COVID? What do you say to that teacher? Because we're all saying kids need to go back, but teachers have to go back too. And
I don't want to be disrespectful, but there's other jobs that you can do in life.
You get a lot of work.
You can, but there might be a few teachers that do strictly online for the kids that are online. I think there'll be a place for that, but you got to be able to prove that you are really successful at doing the online, and then there's a place for it. But if all teachers saying I'm not going back, then it's time to find a different profession. Because I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty easy being at home and having time to yourself. But I want to get back in front of people. Like people.
I think that's the holdup from going back right now. It's the teachers. It's not the kids.
Yeah,
but Chris, I see you nodding your head. What if I'm a teacher and I have an underlying disease? And I mean, it's dangerous for me to go back.
You know what? There's virtual academies, and there's still some virtual options for the parents of the kids that don't want their kids going back to school. So express those concerns. Express those concerns with your district, with your principal, and you know what? Funnel those people into the same little funnel of the people that's being corralled into the virtual learning. And no harm, no foul. But I do think that you've got to get yourself back in there, and these kids need to go to school. I couldn't agree with that more, because I got 2 kids who I have to see do the schooling at home, and it's very, very hard on them, and they're elementary and middle school age. So I agree with everybody that says kids need to be there.
And Grice, I want you to jump in now, but my point: private schools are in school 2 days a week, some of them 5 days a week, and I feel like the gap is going to widen if we don't go to school. But I mean, Grice, go ahead and
there is one problem as I see it, and that is that I hate to say this, but not all teachers that are teaching are really qualified to do the job that they're doing. And if we start thinning out the number of teachers because we tell them, okay, you can go get another job, you don't want to go, we don't have people rushing to become teachers. So
we don't pay them.
This is a critical point, I think, but we got to find a way to, like Sam says, there will be places for virtual learning, I think, as we go forward. But you got to.
There are more teachers than there are virtual learning spots. And that's the problem. They don't want to lose good teachers because the vast majority, I'm not saying all of them, but the vast majority of teachers have at least 10 years experience or more. And your best teachers have that kind of experience. Not all, but your best teachers have that kind of experience, but they also have, many of them, an underlying condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Grice, what's on your mind when you want to talk?
Yeah, for me, being on the outside looking in, it's just maddening. Like, as someone who works, for a bank downtown, and, hearing such the divergence, I guess, of approaches when it comes to work. And of course, with the banking industry where I work, it involves branches, which are necessary when you talk about banks. So there is some person-to-person interaction necessary. And it involves, of course, a large number of people being in the space. And I just think that the protections that would be afforded to those of us going back to work, and some of the things, even with them pushing out our date way beyond, almost into 2021, versus some of the people and what they're saying here, just push everybody back and not affording the same protections, not going through and having specific protocols, and just trying to kind of figure out as it goes. And from my outside looking in perspective, that's what I continue to hear with this reactionary perspective and reactionary mindset. And I just don't think that people understand that teachers have the power here for the one time they're underpaid, overworked, all this stuff. For the one time in their life, they have the power and kind of control this. So it's one of those times where you need to hear these teachers and understand their perspective. And so many parents and so many people don't want to do that. As someone who works downtown, if there's a large number of people, especially people that are in leadership positions that feel a certain way, things are going to be done. Teachers are leaders. They need to be heard, and at least need to be put in a form to understand, hey, this is going to be done a certain way. And if you don't like it, there's going to be a problem here. I think people don't understand that it's going to come to a head at some point, especially in a state that's charged up in the teachers union into this. It's going to come to a head, and we need to fix it in a healthy way.
I want to give you the final word here, because we kind of got into this conversation because how open and honest we were earlier.
But I don't want to do a long discussion. I don't have to do the final word. But this
you have your final words, then. Yeah,
I want to interact with you guys for a second. So,
but hold on, Sam. We're gonna come back. We'll give you hold on a second. Yeah, when you guys found out you're going back to school for testing in December and back in the class in January, is that early enough, and what was the reaction to it?
I think the fact that we were going back for finals, no one likes finals. So we're happy to go back, and I think a lot of us are really excited. We've been at home for 6 months. That's no fun. It's my senior year. I want to have a normal senior year, and So I think we're all super excited. And for the teacher thing, I can honestly say I would rather watch a teacher on a Promethean board in a classroom teaching from home and being with my friends and being able to talk than sitting in my own home, being by myself, listening to a teacher talk on my computer. So, I mean, I want teachers to be safe. I want kids to be safe. But there's multiple ways to do it. And so, I mean, I think it's just a solution thing. You know, there's a lot of different solutions with technology, and we just haven't necessarily opened up those solutions. And I think we can do a lot of really cool things while still being in the classroom.
I think Gabby's got it right here. This is the main thing. Like, if you have teachers that you're telling them they have to come back, I think you should have to provide them with hazardous pay. Like, if you're coming back, you get hazardous pay. Then that will entice some teachers like, all right, you know what, I'm going to be clean. If I get an extra $15,000, you know, they're going to come back and do it. $15,000 is not a lot to the working world people, but to a teacher, it's a ton of money. Do you see what I'm saying? So you go to, you know, you work for a bank and, you know, you can make over six figures and you get your little $15,000 bonus or whatever the case may be.
It still spends well. Don't get it twisted. That spends well.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just you're talking about $15,000. A teacher will bend over back. Think about coaches. We get paid what, $5,000 as a head coach, roughly. You know, I mean, we spend what, an extra 40 hours a week, You see what I'm saying? Like, they got us. They got us working, and it's a frustrating thing because we're not getting paid what we should. If we do have to come back, it should be a hazardous pay. And then I think a lot of teachers that are willing to come back, they will. And if they really are terrified of coming back, the online will be available for them to do it, you know, virtual learning. And I think that they can not get the hazardous pay. So I think that's a way that you can do it.
All right, Sam, you're in the one shot.
Well, my one shot, I just want to be able to explain. I wanted y'all to interact with me on this. And what will we do? Like, since there's not a lot of people, and then one thing that frustrated me when I was going to these high school games is the environment of the crowd. There was nobody there really because they're not allowing a lot of people in. Why can't local stations provide like games on TV right now? Why can't they do that? Like, I don't understand. I think that a lot of people would watch these high school games, and I think it's a good opportunity to promote it because I think Cabarrus County had like a camera for the basketball that you can watch all the games or whatnot. There's got to be a way that you can provide this for the
network contract, Sam. I can't interrupt network programming to show high school football on Friday night. The reason why football Friday night is about this long now is because of the 11:30 talk show is telling them they got to get off the air. When I used to do 36, it was the same fight. The Tonight Show came on. They're like, you guys got to get off. And so we moved up and up and up, and we started coming on like at 11:10 or something. I think with Chuck Howard was there last couple of years. But there's other channels streaming out there, and you can watch, you know, umpteen games on streaming every night, and you can put streaming on your Apple device or your Fire Stick and put it on your TV screen. And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, $9.99 a month.
You can do high school that way, you said?
Yeah, NFHS Network shows a lot of high school games. Like, I mean, you got to pay for it, but you got
to pay for it. But I mean, all these high school games are free on demand. A lot of the high schools in South Carolina were free. What I was 3 games last week in South Carolina.
Have they announced what the attendance stipulations are going to be for the Charlotte private schools this week?
Seniors can take mom and dad, and I think like a sibling or something like that. I think it may be like a family of 4 can get in. I may be wrong about that, but it's a small number.
My brother or something.
Seniors. It's just for seniors. Was the last thing I saw.
So can we get on the field or no?
Yes, I believe so. We got to call the individual high schools. I'll be making those calls. But guys, look, we're real heavy. I was trying to get out by an hour, but Kizzy got us going. I mean, Kizzy, you're so good. I mean, you have no idea.
Awesome.
You have no idea. I was saying in the chat, you need to put these things on tape and send them off to some schools. I said last week, I mean, somebody needs to give this young lady a scholarship. She wants to go to Tennessee. Tennessee, if you're looking, Knoxville.
I'll talk to Bert.
I was seeing, but then they wouldn't let me go to the school. It's just god awful.
Well, I'll get Grant Williams to call and they'll get you in there. Yeah. All right, look, we're gonna be back next week. We're gonna go out to games Friday night, correct? Kinsey?
Yeah.
We're gonna do in the car and all that stuff. So we got some fun stuff this weekend. So you guys look out for it. I'll be at Christian, I think, if they'll let me on the field. So be my first game I've covered since March. It's been crazy. I've been at the game since March. All right, I'm Langston. That's Sam. That's Grice. That's Chris. That's Diel. That's Miss Kinsey. And that's Gary. Go Cowboys. How about him? See you next week.
I done Cowboy. No, yeah.